some, it's supercars. For others, it's about the understated ferocity of Q cars or the attainability of hot hatches. For me, it's those that push the boundaries of what is acceptable or rational. The cars that make you scratch your head and wonder how it can be legal or defined as sane. If practicality is at one end of the scale, then these are their polar opposites, the utter rejection of logic, the batshit crazy. These are your BAC monos, aerial atoms, KTM crossbows, real track monsters that for some obscene reason you can also commute to work in. Looking at this range of cars, you'd overlook today's focus at your peril. As their name suggests, they aren't in it for MPG figures. They are truly radical.
Two guys got together. They were both race drivers, and they couldn't really find anything that satisfied what they wanted to do. Those guys were Phil Abbott and Mick Hyde. Phil is still the MD today and still racing every weekend and still, the driving force behind the company. And it was Phil's idea to put a little motorbike engine and design a little sports car around it to go racing with. Not much weight, but really effective and very, very competitive. They started winning races with them, then people wanted to buy them, and it sort of grew from there.
Founded in 1997, Radical may have only been around for 16 years, but in that time they've managed to sell over 1,600 racing cars. They've set the production car lap record at the Nürburgring with a time of 6 minutes and 48 seconds, and they designed the car for Le Mans in less than 12 months. Their most popular car, the SR3, they've sold over 800 units and counting. It's a track day favourite and led to a creation of its own racing series. But we're here today to see its latest and maddest creation, the RXC. Radical up until fairly recently has been geared completely towards the track, but with its two latest incarnations, the SR3 SL or Street Legal and the RXC, they've been designed with both road and racing in mind. Now, this hasn't come without compromise. Gone are the bike engines so synonymous with Radical since it first put a Kawasaki engine in its first car, the Club Sport. In come Ford engines. In the SL, we have a Ford 2-litre EcoBoost from the Focus ST, and in the RXC here, we have a 3.7-litre V6 from the Mustang.
If you're going to do more endurance spec type of stuff and road car applications, then a road car engine is the best way to go. We will do a V8 version of this, which is our V8 engine. Effectively, the top end are two Hayabusa motors, but the rest of it is designed and built in-house here. If that, as it stands, isn't quite enough for you, then putting a lighter engine in there with 500 horsepower, that will really blow your socks off.
The RXC is a huge departure from Radical's current range. Not only is it their first coupe, but the suspension, the chassis, the 7-speed gearbox, everything was developed from scratch. They took lessons learned from their SR9 Le Mans project to create it. With no traction control or ABS, 380 brake horsepower from a car that weighs just 900 kilos and a 0 to 60 time of 3 seconds, it's a car that laughs in the face of the cliche, a race car for the road. Because this literally is it. This is a race car for the road. Let's see just how terrifying that can be. We were fortunate enough to be the first to see the RXC on the road. Up until this point, the car's development has been purely on the track, whereas the process of preparing it for the road has only just begun. We tried to discuss our first impressions of what the RXC felt like whilst on the move, however it sounded a little like this. It seems sound deadening wasn't the priority whilst getting the perfect balance on the track, but Radical say this is one of the many things they're focusing on perfecting through some intensive road testing. So what led them to designing what they call the world's most extreme road legal coupe?
It's something that the guys have wanted to do for many years now, and in fact the design process started best part of 4 years ago now, with the inspiration being the Peugeot LMP1 car. So that was really the thought process, was wouldn't it be fantastic if we could have one of these type of cars that's cost effective, and you can drive it on the road. So that's really where it all started. It looks like it's going to require huge amounts of skill and talent to drive it. It doesn't at all. And that's one of the key things. You've got to be able to get into it and get a lot of feeling and feedback coming back from the car, so you know exactly where you are with it, and that's exactly what you get with this.
So that was the very first time you've had it on the road?
Yeah.
So what did you think of it?
I've always thought that the way that we've done the suspension, that it's very roadable, and I think you can probably feel that just in the passenger seat.
It was actually,
it rides really well. Yeah. The steering's very good. I mean, we've spent a long time perfecting the steering, because obviously it's a power steering system. We've been through 3 or 4 different iterations and mind-numbing sort of number of different softwares, setups and stuff. We spent a long time doing it, and what's really nice is the fact that now that we've got it right on the racetrack, it feels nice on the road too. So that's really pleasing, and it's a lot of fun already. So when we get really sorted with it, it's going to be absolutely brilliant, I think.
Radical may have not been around for all that long, but you can't be into the racing scene and not have heard of them. They could be busy congratulating themselves on the success of the SR3 and resting on their laurels, but they're well aware, more than most, that in racing, if you're standing still, you're effectively going backwards. They have big plans for the future, and the RXC is only the beginning of that. They plan to push racing and speed to its very limit, and I fully intend to be there to see it.